Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Thanks for tuning in. We got a big episode on Palantir stock, PLTR, and really how is the stock separating itself from just kind of that trendy AI bubble that a lot of these AI stocks are being classified in. And we've seen Palantir really starting to separate itself from this group. Recently, just in the last few days, they've secured a $250 million contract with the government. Great for credibility in terms that the government is utilizing them for their AI software, and this brings great exposure to private clientele. In addition, you have enormous high option trading activity today, and you have many other metrics, especially we're going to be taking a look at that 50-day moving average that is starting to separate Palantir and putting it more into the bullish category. And not just in terms of its trendiness being an AI stock, which has been a big thing for 2023, we also have Palantir that is making bullish adjustments to its future projections. And as we see these increase bullish and better adjustments to projected earnings, to earnings per share, that's great, especially as it's continuing to increase when a lot of these companies have been actually changing their future projections for the actual negative effects. Palantir is separating itself here. So before we get into it, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, I'm not a financial advisor, so take everything that I say with a grain of salt. Let's get into what you guys want to talk about, and that is Palantir. Now, where Palantir sits at right here is at 16 bucks. It's where we close on the day, up about $1.46%. Getting caught up on my words here. But Palantir basically consolidating on the day. Great to show that it's actually bouncing off the support level that we've seen, holding consolidation here, and with the recent bullishness that we've had, trading activity volume at 78 million. So lots of trading occurring and sitting at a market cap at about 34 billion. One of the biggest criticisms that we have seen with Palantir, of course, is its high valuation. Now remember, this is kind of a criticism that all tech stocks do get, is a high valuation. Many people are trying to price in its growth, predict its growth, getting into the stock early, take advantage of the opportunity and the increase in price. But where we are with Palantir, recently breaking out over the 50-day moving average, and this can suggest a short-term bullish trend, and especially right here because the 50-day is considered a very important because it's usually one of the first signs of either an up or a down trend. And Palantir has really increased about 5% over the last week, doing well, and it gets a Zacks rating, which is a pretty important rating right now at a 3, a hold at the moment, which is good for a Zacks rating, especially where we are in the stock market in general, the general atmosphere with inflation rates, the federal funds rate, things like that. So the fact that Palantir is getting more labeled into this bullish case and is getting stronger once the investors are taking into account these earnings estimate revisions, one important thing to realize is that there have been 5 higher compared to none that were lower, like we mentioned before, for the current fiscal year. So the fact that they made 5 adjustments already just for this current fiscal year shows you that they are having a lot of bullishness behind the actual business operations and the revenues and adjustments for the earning per shares that they do have. And especially by looking at Palantir at least a watch list, I don't think is a bad idea. It is one of basically the most trendiness stocks right here. And we're going to be talking about that because especially on Zacks.com, Palantir has been one of the most searched stocks. And basically what that can come with is some inherent risk. Getting into a trend can cause a lot of FOMO and a lot of retail investors, even institutional investors, that end up getting beat up at the end. So, but the fact here is that Palantir is really separating itself from this trendiness AI category in the fact that we said we're up over 5% over the last week, and we've seen these revisions to their earning estimates is that the projection is continuing to increase. And especially looking at these analysts and all these metrics that you can run, is that we're seeing these post earnings price per share right here is indicating a 500% from over a year ago quarter. Great to see there, and especially as these estimates are up even 6% over the last 30 days. So the fact, like I said, we can look into all the numbers, but we have these estimates that are continuing to increase, and especially for the next fiscal year, which is really important, the consensus estimates of 27 cents does indicate another 18% change from what Palantir expected to report over a year ago. So we're seeing this over and over again, that you're having these expectations that are continuing to increase. And looking back to its revenue growth forecast, I think is really important, because especially right here, the consensus sale estimate of this 555 million for the current quarter, year over year change, this is a 16.1%. And what we're seeing is, especially in terms of the last reported results, remember we had that with the last quarter results, Palantir went from about $20 down to about 15 right away, when it was basically kind of right in line right there, that the earnings per share surprise was 0% basically of a change. So compared to the expected results, Palantir has been holding well, and as it's even being pushed to these higher predictions, it continues to raise those predictions. So in terms of its valuation, yes, it does have a high price to sales, it does have a high price to cash flow, and especially in terms of valuation, that is an important thing to realize. But however, that is something that does seem to be inherent among many different tech stocks, and the fact that we have seen that among many different tech stocks, if we even just take example for like C3.ai, what we've seen here is some change. C3.ai has gone, if we go here just from the 5-minute charts, has really made a big change, and they actually had to make a negative change for C3.ai, which was taking their predicted of becoming profitable within the next fiscal year, and they're saying, hey, this might not actually happen. What Palantir Technologies is, they're a profitable company already with a positive earnings per share. So especially having a stock here that is outperforming and becoming a leader in the AI industry, having these government contracts and earnings per shares, and especially these revenue metrics and quarter earning metrics that are continuing to increase their projections for the following year, it is definitely a bullish sign on mine. And I can see why we've seen big investors like Kathy Wood that are really piling up, part of ARK Invest, really piling up on Palantir stock. So lots of things to consider. Of course, I'll be keeping you guys updated. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys later and have a great weekend. Look out for some future videos.